Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, the Nigerian situation, as you know, is relentless, is unforgiving, is unremitting, and the hammer just seems to constantly fall on that nation. We have a president, as you know, that is as insidious as he is ungifted. So we have a president with no gift, but particularly given to brutality and cruelty. So of course the hammer constantly and continuously will always fall. So guys, with that, I bring you this. Just in Showore's arrest, Buhari's government behaving like Abacha, and this headline is attributed to Soyinka. So again, just in Showore's arrest, Buhari's government behaving like Abacha, and this comment of course was made by the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka. The Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka has condemned the arrest of activist Omoyele Sowore. Mr. Sowore, a presidential candidate in the last election, was arrested on Saturday for calling for a revolution against poor governance. Beyond the word revolution, another much misused and misunderstood word, nothing that Sowore had uttered, written, or advocated should suggest that he was embarking on or urging the public to engage in a forceful overthrow of government, Mr. Soyinka said. He compared the action of the security agencies that arrested Mr. Sowore to what happened during the tenure of late dictator Sani Abacha. We underwent identical cynical contrivance under the late unlamented Sani Abacha when he sent stormtroopers to disrupt a planning session for a similar across the nation march at Tai Sholari School in Ekene, Mr. Soyinka wrote in a statement that he put out. So now here is a full text of what Wole Soyinka said. Surely not again. So that's the headline of Wole Soyinka's public statement. Surely not again. So now here's what he has to say. Deployment of alarmist expressions such as treason, arsonist, public incitement, etc. by security forces have become so predictable and banal that they have become meaningless. Beyond the word revolution, another much misused and misunderstood word, nothing that Sowore has uttered, written, or advocated suggested that he was embarking on or urging the public to engage in a forceful overthrow of the government. Nothing that he has said to me in private engagement ever remotely approached an intent to destabilize governance or bypass the normal democratic means of changing a government. I therefore find the reasons given by the Inspector General for the arrest and detention of this young ex-presidential candidate totally contrived and untenable, unsupported by any shred of evidence. His arrest is a travesty and a violation of the fundamental rights of citizens to congregate and make public their concerns. This is also deja vu. How often must we go through this worrisome cycle? We underwent identical cynical contrivance under the late unlamented Sani Abacha when he sent stormtroopers to disrupt a meeting session for a similar across the nation march at Tai Sholari School in Ekene. This was followed up by a personalized letter that was hand-delivered by the state security services to me under their omens at their Abeokuta so-called annex with a near-identical wording to the threats contained in today's release from the desk of the Chief of Police. At least I was summoned, not subjected to a terrorist midnight arrest. Some irony. The same pattern Pavlovian conduct manifested itself under yet another supposed democratic ruler who personally declared that the gathering of civilians to deliberate on and propose a constitution for the nation was high treason and would be resisted by the full rigor of the state power if we persisted. the Inspector General of Police mobilized his forces and issued inflammatory proclamations, but PRONACO went ahead despite all the thunderings from Aso Citadel. Can the police ever learn anything? Also, their tear gas and brutalizing of grieving mothers who marched peacefully to protest the death of their children in a plane crash inferno. Their mission under the same regime, which was simply to deliver a letter to Government House in Lagos demanding greater safety in airline operations, yet such a rational intent born out of traumatic circumstances was quashed on the sidewalks of a supposed 21st century nation. And yet again, a faceless cabal under yet another civilian regime refused to be left out of the insensate play of power. A march on Aso Rock calling for an end to governance by a ghostly entity was slated to be crushed, but fortunately, a conflicting balance of interest decided in favor of a reduced trajectory of protest, and so on and on and on, in a nation which continues to speak at once through both sides of the mouth, spewing out the same treason monotone as if this was a magic incarnation that could substitute for the venting of mass feelings, even as collective therapy. May I invite the Inspector General to wade through the daily journals of the past few weeks and months and read and digest the calls of numerous sectors of society across profession and national groupings for demonstrations against the parlous conditions of society, all identifying ills to which attention must be drawn, and urgently through mass action. Demonstrations and processions are time-honored democratic ways of drawing not only the attention of government to ills, but of mobilizing the public towards a proactive consciousness of their condition, and thereby exhorting civil society also to devise means of ameliorating their condition through their own effort. Religious bodies have urged such remedies, so have civic associations. The ready resource to arrest, incarceration, and threats to civilians are ultimately counterproductive. They alienate the citizens, erode their confidence in governance responsiveness, and thereby advance the extremist nightmare that security agencies believe they are acting to thwart. If we cannot learn from the history and experiences of other societies, let us at least learn from ours. Freedom is not glibly qualified. It cannot be doled out like slops of charity from soup kitchens. Let the police stick to their task of protecting and managing protest, not attempt to place their own meaning and declaration of intent on bogey words like revolution. So now this is now what Professor Soyinka has to say, that a plague on all their houses, the Malamis and their cabal, because really I've also said this, by the way, in a previous video, that the one word that they are leveraging is that word revolution, because of course revolution is a call to an act to revolt, and we all know what revolution or revolting means. So if Showole had not now used that word, then he would not, they would then have found it very difficult to arrest him. If he had called for rather a march against bad governance, then it would be very difficult then for the police to go and arrest him, because if the police are arresting him for calling for a march against bad governance, then that would then indicate that the police are in favor of bad governance. So now, but that word revolution that he has used, because when he was shouting all this word revolution, I had been thinking at the back of my mind that this guy is setting himself up for an arrest. But then, of course, I was then expecting that at some point and fairly quickly they will go in and take him. But then I was then of the thought also that Sowore does want to be arrested, because Sowore wants to be arrested because he has that martyrdom psyche within him, and he's already said that he's willing to give his life for the nation, and this is just the step in that direction. But of course, I'm sure he's not looking to lose his life, but he's effectively saying that this situation is so serious and is so egregious that he's willing to sacrifice anything, including his own being, for the cause. Because if you look at the situation of Nigeria, you would need somebody of the bravity of Sowore to tackle the powers that continue to repress that nation, and that there's no greater embodiment of that sort of repression than Malam Buhari, who I'm of the opinion, and Professor Wole Soyinka, who knows a lot better than I do, is also of that opinion that is worse than Abacha. So now we have this draconian, brutal Malam, kick and follow, point and shoot, coup plotter sort of fella in charge of the country now, and is holding all the guns against the citizenry of that country. And he says that you continue to live on your knees, or you continue your existence under the ground, which is not really a form of living. So live on your knees or die is the options that Buhari is effectively giving the Nigerian population, because this guy understands nothing other than brutality, his ethnicity, and his religion. Those are the only three things that this Malami guy understands. But now these three things are not now sufficient now to hold that nation down. So now this is now the state of play within the Nigerian space: a relentless and unforgiving and an unremitting endless grind, as I described it in the intro. Now, what is your take on the Nigerian situation? Do you differ from my opinion and Professor Wole Soyinka's opinion? So come share thoughts with me in the comment section. This is what we usually do here. But before you come share those thoughts with me in the comment section, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come, let's share ideas in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, carry on this conversation with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.